Hello, friends. Welcome in. It's 12:04, almost 12:05. May I be the first to say good afternoon. Let's get this thing underway. Here we are, and here we go on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Matt Murphy, and it's time for the Matt Murphy Radio Show on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. That's the radio side of things. We're also internet streaming anywhere you go. You can take us where you are by downloading our radio station on an app of your choosing. Now, if you already have Spotify or TuneIn or iHeart or whatever it might be, you can just look us up, Supertalk 99.7 WTN. Do it in good health and good faith. And then you can also download our app and do the same thing. You're invited to do that as well by going over to your app store of your choosing and typing in Supertalk 99.7 WTN. You're also invited to watch the radio proceedings on Supertalk TV. You can see my new haircut. Supertalk TV is up and running on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch. Invited to be there. It is our episode 499. Despite the fact that everyone's wishing me a happy 500th show today around the station, there was some level of miscommunication, but that's okay. We're in the communication business. Thank you to all of you wishing me a happy 500th. That's happening on Monday because I'm not here tomorrow, and I did not plan it that way. Had I planned it that way, I would not have missed what would have been our 500th show. But that has to be on Monday now. Today is episode 499. And today's episode is entitled
Murphy Show. It's Matt's Friday, which is our Thursday. And that means it must be Friday Eve.
No.
Libertarian lunch, noon to 3. Jason cake.
What kind of cake?
We'll talk about it later.
Jason cake?
Just go on.
What are you talking about?
Just do your thing.
I am doing my thing. I'm trying to figure out what the hell you're talking
Explain
about.
it later.
Well, it is. I'm surprised you didn't do that stupid Friday Eve thing.
I did. That means
I'm talking about the stupid, the big voice guy. Yeah, that puts me in a bad mood. It puts me in a bad mood, and when I'm in a bad mood, you can almost guarantee that it will be a good show. And I hope that it's a good show today. I implore of you to give us your opinion on what's going on the southern border and what to do about it. We will discuss on the show today. It's obviously, I am of the belief, and I regularly tell you, that there are two existential threats to the United States of America present right now. One is a more long-term threat, and that is our overburdensome debt that we refuse to do anything about. And that will eventually be the death of the United States of America. The other issue that we can more presently do something about exists at the southern border, and it exists because of the ineffectiveness. And, well, I say ineffectiveness. Frankly, I believe that he's being very effective in what he wants to accomplish, and that would be the Biden administration and sleepy, sloppy Uncle Joe, who doesn't really know what's going on except that he's the face of all of this, and so we blame him. We put the blame at his feet, but it's really these shadowy, nebulous figures that want to fundamentally change our country into something that it's not, be it Barack Obama or Jake Sullivan or whomever. I mean, you know the usual suspects on down to George Soros. I don't know who's necessarily pulling the strings, but I know these strings are being pulled in ways that are going to destroy the fabric of the United States of America if we allow it to happen. And I think it's come to a head with this situation involving Texas. We will discuss said situation. I'm thankful. I, like many other conservatives and libertarians last evening, wondered if Governor Bill Lee would be speaking back to the issue. He did speak to the issue. He put out a tweet. We have put out a telephone call. I have communicated with the governor's people. I've spoken to Elizabeth and Casey in his office, and I am told that he is checking his schedule and his calendar, and I indicated, well, I'll tell you what the exchange was all about. I said, hey, touching base, hope we can get together with the governor soon. Lots to discuss, to include the issue of immigration on the southern border and what Tennessee can do to help. And they responded saying, yes, sir, so much to discuss. We're on top of it. We're checking the schedule. And I responded by saying, so timely today with the southern border crisis, I'm just saying. Now, I understand that the governor has a very busy schedule, but I also understand that the people of Tennessee want to hear from him. He has spoken, at least in as much as you can speak, through a tweet or on the X machine. Let's call it an X post. And we have shared that with our X posters, those that follow us on the social media site. Go to @MattMurphyShow if you want to see more. @MattMurphyShow. You can watch me argue with liberals and have a good time and, generally speaking, make an ass of myself. Do that by going to @MattMurphyShow on the X machine. Speaking of the X machine, here's the let me give you the the governor's take on what happened in Texas, and then we'll tell you what Governor Greg Abbott is doing, and we'll also share some of what Ron DeSantis, governor of Florida, has said about all of this, and what some other states are doing in an effort to support the state of Texas. First and foremost, let's try to understand what's going on. And I know that you do, and I'm not here to talk down to you, but I want to make sure that even those of you out in Aniana understand what fully is happening in Texas. So I want to make sure that I have this straight. Joe Biden will not stop through his administration, through his border security, through immigration and customs enforcement, and through his Department of Homeland Security. The President of the United States has indicated that they have an inability to stop the flood of illegal aliens coming into this country. Now, for the purposes of what we're about to do here right now, I'm going to try to give the Biden administration every benefit of the doubt to make a point that even if you give them the benefit of the doubt, it is unacceptable. Even if we accept that what they're telling us is true, all of this is unacceptable, and it's all based on Bravo Sierra. El Torre Caca. So I'm going to be giving him the benefit of the doubt, and as I do this, as I go through these points, you'll say, well, wait a minute. No. Just bear with me. You'll understand. I want to make this so easy that even liberals understand it. The Biden administration has told us repeatedly, through conversations on social media, through conversations with the assembled media in the White House press room, that they do not have the ability to do anything about what's happening at the southern border absent Republican action in the House of Representatives. This is a Republican House of Representatives that has repeatedly presented legislation that would get further border security on the southern border. The Biden administration refuses that assistance unless they can utilize those Border Patrol agents to process more illegal aliens coming into the country. They want to specifically use money assigned to them for that purpose. The Republicans, recognizing the real problem is border security, not immigration policy, they say, no, we'll give you the money, but you have to use it to secure the border. You don't get to use it to push paperwork around. So the Biden administration says, well, we don't have any ability to do anything about this because, the GOP. They're actually presenting to the American people as if we are a bunch of snapperheads. They're telling the American people that it's the GOP that doesn't want to do anything about the flood of illegal immigration. That's their argument. Now, I've been doing this a long time. And you guys know me. I wear my emotions very much on my sleeve. You know where I'm at on an issue. And I like to tell you that if you're against me on an issue, you're not going to like me very much. If you're with me on an issue, you want me on that wall, you need me on that wall. And here I am. But what I like least of all in what we do every day, what I like least of all, are politicians treating the American people like they're stupid. And they do it all the time. The Biden administration is looking at the American people right now. I don't care what political persuasion you are. It's America. You get to be a dunderhead if you want to. I'm asking you a sincere question. Do you believe the Biden administration when they tell you that the GOP doesn't want to do anything about the southern border? That they want this to continue? That it's their fault that this is continuing? Because that's what they say. Whether it's Karine Jean-Pierre or John Kirby or, lo and behold, Alejandro Mayorkas. Or Joe Biden himself.
Your face is so red.
Or Joe Biden himself. My face is red? Well, it took a while. I went by the mic and I had to come back. I went all the way around the room. That's what they tell you. They're asked, what are you going to do to stop the flood of illegal aliens, illegal migrants? Call them whatever you want to call them. They're not supposed to be here. What are you going to do?
Well, if the Republicans would fund better border...
Shut up! You lying liars. Now, some of you just said, Matt, you need to calm down. You need to get a hold of yourself. What is it going to take for us to get mad? Anger is a perfectly serviceable emotion. Now, it can get out of control. It can lead to bad things. But it can also be used for good. What is it going to take you to be motivated enough to get angry? To get mad as hell about this? It is a serious question, Mr. President. I'm sincerely wondering what it's going to take for the entirety of the United States of America to stand up and say, whoa, man, you need to stop this. You need to stop lying to us and stop this. But lie they do, and continue they do. I am mad. Because they stand before the American people and they say, you know, there's nothing we can do. What do you mean there's nothing you can do? There's nothing we can do. We need more money. Do you know how much the United States of America spends in our budgets on Border Patrol every year, on the Department of Homeland Security every year, on Immigration and Customs Enforcement every year? And the Biden administration tells us they don't have enough money. That's their answer. You can all go to hell. Go to hell. Treat me like I'm Boo Boo the Fool. So that's point one. The Biden administration will not, says they cannot stop illegal aliens from flooding into the country. Number two, Texas, feeling the brunt of all of this, recognizing that the Biden administration is a bunch of lying liars telling a bunch of lies, but attempting to act in good faith and take them at their word, because that's what the premise is. The premise is we can't do more than we're doing, says the Biden administration. We all know it's pablum. We all know it's garbage. But we are forced to take them at their word. Okay. So the state of Texas says, well, we'll help you. If your premise is you really want to do something about this, you wish it weren't so, you wish it weren't happening, you don't want illegal aliens coming into the country in the amounts that they are, you want to decrease the number of border crossers, gotaways, caught ones, whatever, then we'll help you. Texas says, we will assist you. We will call out the Texas National Guard, and we'll actually do something about this. We'll get on the border. We'll bring out the razor wire. We'll bring out the barricades. We'll bring out the buoys. We'll do what you say you don't have the ability to do. In the meantime, we're going to bus a bunch of illegal aliens to these sanctuary cities that sit on high, declaring that they're better than everyone else because they would accept anybody and everybody that comes. And now these sanctuary cities are falling apart as a result of the weight of the burden of illegal aliens and illegal immigration in their cities. I'm talking New York and Chicago and elsewhere. So Texas says, we'll take care of this. Don't worry about it. We've got your back, federal government. Joe Biden, Alejandro, 30 seconds later, Mayorkas, all of you, we'll help you help yourselves because you say you just don't have the resources to get this done. That the mean, evil Republicans in the House of Representatives are to blame for all of this. So we'll help you. Here are some resources. Here's the Texas National Guard. Here's some razor wire. Here's some border security. And the Biden administration's response, point number 3, is to order Texas to stop. Whoa, 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 whoa. You don't have the authority to do that. Now, point number 3 proves that point number 1 is a lie. The Biden administration says we would do this ourselves, but we just don't have the resources. Texas offers resources. Hey, let's act together. You know, by the way, that Texas and the Biden administration could be acting together right now. The Biden administration could have said, thank you, Texas. We appreciate your help, Texas. Here's what we're going to do. While we recognize that border security is a federal oversight and that the federal government should be in control of border security, we're going to give you some of this responsibility because you have the resources to help us out. Thank you, Texas, for helping us out in this regard. Now, understand, we're still in control. We're still in charge. And if you do anything we don't like, we're going to tell you. But we're all on the same page that we want to stop illegal immigration into the United States of America, says the Biden. They could have done that, but they didn't. Instead, they ordered them to stop. They said no. These areas where we have thousands, if not tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of illegal aliens flooding from parts unknown, not just Mexico, not just Guatemala and Honduras and Venezuela, and not just these places, from other parts of the world, the Middle East, China, Sudan, Yemen. Instead of thanking Texas for providing that material assistance that they claim they need, they shut them down or tried to. And so, point number 4, Texas sues the Biden administration. Texas says we have an authority as a state, as a part of the United States. We have a responsibility to take care of our people. We have a responsibility to take care of immigration law where you won't. As a matter of fact, we have a responsibility to follow up on federal immigration law and federal border law where you won't. So no, Biden administration. We don't know what your purpose is here. We thought that you would come with us with hat in hand and thank us for our assistance because you claim that what your problem is resource-based, not a willingness to get this done. But you seem angry about this, so we're going to go to a court and we're going to figure out what authority we have and what authority you have. And that's point number 4. We'll continue this in just a moment as we break this down. I think it's very important that we break this down so everyone plainly understands what's going on and what it is leading to. It is 12:23 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Boo! Boo! Fellas, there are certain numbers that you should know, and sadly, us guys, and I know how you are because I'm the same way, you don't like the doctor's office and you avoid it at all costs. Well, sadly, when you avoid the doctor's office, you also avoid an awareness of some of those numbers. I'm talking like your blood pressure, your cholesterol, and also your T levels. Well, if you've noticed a lack of energy, motivation, or drive, if you're feeling tired and or grumpy, it might not just be the news today. It might be low T. If you've noticed a weight gain or loss of muscle mass or have had a decrease in your sex drive, then that might be a problem that you could easily fix with the Tennessee Men's Clinic, and I want to tell you how. 2 locations to serve you. One's in Midtown. They've been around since 2014. They opened a clinic in Cool Springs about a year ago, and these are great people with one purpose in mind, and that is to get you back to good health, to get you back to the energy level that you want, to enjoy gains at the gym or to work around your yard or whatever it might be. Whatever you've noticed in your life, you need to check some of these levels to see if they can get you back right again. They've got many different programs for you at Tennessee Men's Clinic. Call the gang at Tennessee Men's Clinic today at 615-208-9090 to schedule an appointment. 615-208-9090. You can also join them online at TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. And when you do, tell them Matt Murphy sent you to the one and only, the best, Tennessee Men's Clinic. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. We'll get to your calls coming up just after what we call the bottom of the hour, which is an antiquated phrase meaning 2:30 when we take a short advertisement timeout. I want to get through the rest of this so that we can all clearly understand where we are with regard to immigration. So Joe Biden and his administration, they say that they don't have the ability to stop the flood of illegal immigration because they don't have the money. They don't have the money because the House of Representatives doesn't want to stop the flood of illegal immigration. The Republicans don't want to stop immigration. It's laughable on its face, but that's what they say. So Texas steps in and says, okay, we'll help you out. And they bring in buoys and they bring in razor wire, and they actually bring in things that will assist, material things that will assist in stopping the flood of illegal immigration. For their efforts, the Biden administration tells Texas to stop. Then the Biden administration, through the Customs and Border Patrol agents on the border, those agents are ordered to begin to dismantle that which is Texas property. Which is why, point number 4, Texas sued the Biden administration for destroying their property and for removing their property. Texas said, whoa. We're trying to enforce federal immigration law. We're doing you a solid here, bud. And for our efforts, you're going to come in here and destroy our property and cut our razor wire and remove our buoys? I don't think so. And so they sued the Biden administration. You know, like, I'm just trying to do what you claim you want to do, and now you're mad at me for doing it, and you're stopping me from doing it. It's almost as if you're not an honest actor in all of this. So Texas sued the Biden administration, and the 5th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals wagged their finger at Joe Biden and his administration and said, hey, we're going to decide whether or not Texas has this authority. We're going to decide if they can enforce immigration law that you will not enforce. More on that coming up. But for the time being, you need to stop destroying their razor wire. The Biden administration appealed that decision, that temporary stay. This is not a final decision on the matter. This is a temporary stay of the destruction of Texas property. The Biden administration appealed to the United States Supreme Court, and the United States Supreme Court, in a 5-4 decision, sided with the Biden administration. That while the 5th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals is deciding this case as to what authority Texas has versus what authority the federal government has, the federal government is going to be given broad latitude to utilize the southern border in a manner of their choosing. So if they want to remove razor wire, they can remove razor wire. Nothing in this order, and people have been misreporting this since it came down, nothing in this order forces Texas to do it themselves that I've seen. What the order says is that Texas can't stop the Border Patrol from doing it. And so what Governor Greg Abbott has said over the last 24 hours is, hey, federal government, hey, Joe Biden, pound of sand. Why don't you and the horse you rode in on go do what you know I want you to do? And so we are now told, point number 8, that Joe Biden and his administration are actually pursuing plans, considering plans to take over the Texas National Guard, to force them to stop securing their southern border. I want to say that again so even those of you in Aniana understand it. The Biden administration, Joe Biden, who put his hand on a Bible, not that I think he believes, well, I won't get into that. I think he bows at the altar of government. The Biden administration, and Joe Biden specifically, Joe Biden put his hand on the Bible and swore to uphold the Constitution of the United States of America against all enemies, foreign and domestic. Foreign and domestic. Foreign and domestic. They're now considering forcing the Texas National Guard to allow illegal immigration to continue. If number 8 happens, if he goes through with it, well, one, Joe Biden is over because the American people will see through it. The media will spin and spin and spin and spin as much as they possibly can, but the people of the United States of America are smarter than this. They will see it for what it is, a naked federal authoritarian takeover. It is a lose-lose situation right now for Joe Biden, so long as we, the people, stay the course, so long as we, the people, support Governor Greg Abbott in the state of Texas. So long as we, the people, do not lose our will. We'll tell you what Greg Abbott said specifically to the SCOTUS decision and what Governor Bill Lee has said about the matter. And take your telephone calls. So hang in there. 615-737-9986. It's The Murphy Show on Super Talk. I've mentioned this in the past, friends. It bears repeating. Heart disease is the number one killer in the United States of America, and lung cancer is not far behind. Lung cancer is the number one cancer killer in the United States of America. If you are concerned, if you are a former smoker, if you have heart disease in your family, let's give yourself some peace of mind with a scan from Kraft Body Scan. And right now is a great time to do it because not only can you do it, but you can bring a loved one. You can bring your significant other, your husband, your wife, your brother, your sister, whomever it might be. And for a $149 price point, it's a value of over $2,000. But for $149, they're going to introduce you to what they do at Kraft Body Scan. They're going to talk to you about what CT scans can see inside of your body before you ever feel it. And they're going to give you that peace of mind. The scan itself only takes 5-8 minutes. I've done it. I've done a full body scan, and I'm so happy because I'm a little bit of a hypochondriac, and I know now that what's inside my body is tip-top. My heart's doing good. My lungs are doing good. The rest of my body's doing A-OK. You can get that peace of mind, too, with a telephone call to Kraft Body Scan right now. Sign up today. craftbodyscan.com or 615-436-1000. 436-1000. Tell them Matt Murphy sent you. We'll get to your thoughts momentarily. 615-737-9986 as we continue. My name is Matt Murphy, and this is the Matt Murphy Radio Show, a part of live and local conversation right here at Super Talk 99.7 WTN. We like to say information-fueled and opinion-driven, and that is the case. By the way, I noticed that young Mr. Morey, who is normally taking a lunch break, he has that split shift. He's still back there in the corner over there. I don't know what he's doing. I
think he's working on his podcast, Behind the Box. What is it?
Behind the glass, behind the eight ball, right?
Behind the box score or something like that.
I think it's behind the eight ball. I don't think it's behind the box.
I would ask him, but he's recording and he wouldn't hear me.
I don't think it's behind the box score. I don't think that would make any sense. Maybe we can get him. The reason I bring him up is isn't the new Titans head coach going to be introduced at like 1 o'clock this afternoon? I think that's right. So we're monitoring that for you sports aficionados. I consider myself among you. We're monitoring that on the side. Far less important than immigration policy and whatnot, but we'll continue to monitor that. And if there's anything coming out of that, we'll let you know. In the meantime, real quick, before I get to your calls, let me tell you what the Governor Greg Abbott had to say. This is a little lengthy, but I'm going to read it verbatim because it's important. Because you need to understand the justification. I have long said that it is ultimately the responsibility of the federal government to take care of border security. It is the responsibility of the federal government because the states have granted them that responsibility. And my liberal friends don't seem to understand how all of this happened. The states gave the authority to the federal government. The states created the federal government, not the other way around. The states existed first, not the other way around. So whatever authority the federal government has overriding the will of the states is granted to the federal government by the states themselves. And Governor Greg Abbott hits on that point. He issued a statement from yesterday, and it says as follows: the federal government has broken the compact between the United States and the states. The executive branch of the United States has a constitutional duty to enforce federal law protecting states, including immigration law on the books right now. President Biden has refused to enforce those laws and has even violated them. The result is that he has smashed records for illegal immigration. Despite having been put on notice in a series of letters, one of which I delivered to him by hand, President Biden has ignored Texas's demand that he perform his constitutional duties. Number one, President Biden has violated his oath to faithfully execute immigration law enacted by Congress. Instead of prosecuting immigrants for the federal crime of illegal entry, President Biden has sent his lawyers into federal court to sue Texas for taking action to secure the border. Two, President Biden has instructed his agencies to ignore federal statute that mandate the detention of illegal immigrants. The effect is to illegally allow their en masse parole into the United States. Three, by wasting taxpayer dollars to tear open Texas's border security infrastructure, President Biden has enticed illegal immigrants away from the 28 legal points of entry along the state's southern border, bridges where nobody drowns, into the dangerous waters of the Rio Grande. Under President Biden's lawless border policies, more than 6 million illegal immigrants have crossed our southern border in just 3 years. That is more than the population of 33 different states in this country. This illegal refusal to protect the states has inflicted unprecedented harm on the people all across the United States. James Madison, Alexander Hamilton, and other visionaries who wrote the U.S. Constitution foresaw that states should not be left to the mercy of a lawless president who does nothing to stop external threats like cartels smuggling millions of illegal immigrants across the border. That is why the framers included both Article 4, Section 4, which promises that the federal government, quote, shall protect each state against invasion, end quote, and Article 1, Section 10, Clause 3, which acknowledges the state's sovereign interest in protecting their own borders. The failure of the Biden administration to fulfill the duties imposed by Article 4, Section 4 has triggered Article 1, Section 10, Clause 3, which reserves to the state, this state, the right of self-defense. For these reasons, I have already declared an invasion under Article 1, Section 10, Clause 3 to invoke Texas's constitutional authority to defend and protect itself. That authority is the supreme law of the land and supersedes any federal statute to the contrary. The Texas National Guard, the Texas Department of Public Safety, and other Texas personnel are acting on that authority, as well as state law, to secure the Texas border. Greg Abbott, Governor of Texas.
Have some Jason cake.
Is that cake for Governor Abbott or for me?
No, that cake is from Jason, our super texter, for your 500th show.
Oh, isn't that sweet? Isn't that nice? Look, we got cake. Huh. Let me show the super texters. Hold on. I mean, the super. Isn't this nice? And they spelled your name right. Look at this. For those watching on Super Talk TV, it's an American cake. It's a lovely bunt, and it celebrates our 500th show that we're going to officially celebrate on Monday. Isn't that sweet?
And now you have an explanation of Jason cake.
Now I know what Jason cake means. Thank you, Jason. That's very kind of you.
Careful, it might tip.
I got it. Thank you, Jason. That's very kind of you, as I said moments ago. So that's where we are on our southern border issue. As far as the state of Tennessee goes, Governor Bill Lee issued a statement this morning at 7:56 on the X machine saying as follows: the federal government's failure to secure our nation's southern border is jeopardizing the safety of all Americans. Tennessee has always stood with Texas, and we always will. So I don't know if that means that we're going to send additional Tennessee National Guardsmen to assist Texas in their endeavors. I believe that we had sent some Tennessee National Guardsmen to the state. I don't know if we're going to send more. We have asked the governor of our state, Governor Bill Lee, to comment on this on our show, and we are awaiting a response. His people indicated, I had a conversation with them this morning via text, and they said they were checking their schedule. I said, no time like the present. Obviously, there's a lot of people that want to know what's going on. There's a lot of people that want to know what the state of Tennessee can do to assist the state of Texas. So we will let you know as soon as we hear anything from the governor's office. In the meantime, your calls. Shannon's been holding on. Shannon, thank you for your patience. Had a lot to get through, and I appreciate all of you being patient with me as we try to cover all of that so everyone can understand where we are. Shannon, the floor is yours. What's up?
Thanks, Matt, for taking my call. I really appreciate it. I kind of bombarded the station today. I called in with Chris Hand, and now I'm calling in with you. I got a little skin in the game with this border issue. Just to recap, just a couple of points I want to make quickly. I called Chris Hand this morning and told him I was a business owner. My husband and I own a construction company. Couldn't find some people to work for us for almost a year and a half. Had an immigrant come in. He had 2 forms of ID. He had a Tennessee driver's license, and he had a Social Security number. Hired him, put him on payroll, have a great payroll company globally. A lot of people deal with them. Gave him his paycheck within the first week. After I paid him, he came in my office. He accused me that I didn't pay him correctly, and we were having to translate through an app because he couldn't speak English, and basically what it all boiled down to was I took taxes out on him, and he informed me that they don't do taxes, they double dip. I was confused by this. I kept explaining to him, if I have to pay taxes, you have 2 forms of ID, you're going to get taxed out. And he said, no, I double dip. He wants to get government services, the EBTs, the free rent, all that, and he wants me to pay him cash. So he never came back. Anyway, my second point is we ought to give Governor Bill Lee an attaboy for standing by Texas. Second thing is I'm always curious. I've never heard any of our congressmen, senators, legislation, anyone mention. So Ukraine was invaded by Russia. by how many soldiers invaded Ukraine that caused it to become an invasion. Maybe 300,000 soldiers invaded Ukraine. How many people have came across our border and we cannot claim it as an invasion? It blows my mind.
Well, it's obviously an invading force, although they are not unified by any sort of leadership. They're unified in their desire to take advantage of our country and to suck from our American resources. While we are a nation, and thank you, Shannon, for the call, we're a nation of immigrants, sure. We were built in some form or fashion on legal immigration, but that's not what this is. Hasn't been that for a long time. Thankfully, the Republicans have woken up to the point that they don't fall for the same tricks and traps that the Democrats have laid for years. The Democrats have long been consistently in favor of illegal immigration. Sadly, the Republicans, many in the Republican Party, are in favor of illegal immigration too. I call them the Chamber of Commerce Republicans. They like cheap labor. They like cheap labor. And only now that it has become such a dramatic political liability are they finally standing up and doing something about it. Well, I'm glad they've woken up. I didn't see a lot of people awake in 2008 when Senator Jeff Sessions from Alabama and several others stopped amnesty that Bush would have signed, sadly. But they're awake now, and they understand the tricks of the Democrats. The Democrats are demanding money. They say, you give us money and we'll stop it. That's the same thing they said to Ronald Reagan in the 1980s. Ronald Reagan and the Democrats engaged in a trade in the 1980s that resulted in the Simpson-Mazzoli Act. The Simpson-Mazzoli Act was designed to do two things. It created our I-9 system of employment verification. Okay, I just thought of another thing. So three things. It created the I-9 system of employment verification. It amnestized 3.5 million illegal aliens currently in the country. And for the trade of amnestizing those 3 million illegal aliens, 3 million plus illegal aliens in the country, Reagan and the Republican Party said, we want border security. We want it to stop. We don't want to have to do this again in 20 or 30 years. Huh? Sound familiar? And the Democrats who controlled the House of Representatives at the time, the purse string, said, oh, yeah. Well, yeah, man. We'll do that for you. You amnestize these 4 million illegal aliens, and we'll do the I-9 thing so that, the employers have to check, and they knew there were runarounds on that. They knew they could get around that all they wanted. So did the Chamber of Commerce Republican Party. And they said, oh, yeah, we'll give you the money to get border security in place. And lo and behold, the money never came. Imagine that. The money never came. They never managed to get it to where it needed to be. What are they doing today in 2024? Some 40 years later. Almost 40 years later. We're doing the same thing. Oh, we just need more money, guys. You give us more money and we promise border security. If we cannot stand up for what is clearly an invasion of our United States of America, what are you going to stand up for? I'm not kidding. What are you going to stand up for? Would you stand up and be counted if they were all wearing a uniform? Now, I'm not saying that all these people are bad people. They're not all bad people. Many of them just want a better life for themselves. We cannot allow anyone and everyone that wants to come into the United States of America in the United States of America. And I cannot continue to talk because we have this to do. More calls coming up. 1253 Super Talk 99.7 WTN. The world-famous Glock store wants to see you. When it comes to your Second Amendment, you need to go to the best, and I encourage you to go to the world-famous Glock store, and you'll see. When you walk through the doors, when you see the incredible retail showroom, when you talk to the friendly people that will treat you with dignity and respect, no matter your level of expertise in handling a gun, you'll understand the difference. You'll understand when you walk through the Shoot 270 rooms, not lanes, rooms. You'll see the classroom space dedicated to helping you understand the law, helping you to understand how to and when to handle a gun and what to do when the time comes. You'll understand the difference when you see their incredible manufacturing facility. They manufacture so many of their parts that they sell on the showroom floor right there at their facility on Airlane Drive. And then there's the training. And I've mentioned to you the Sentinel training class that's happening February 3rd. Find out more about that at shoot270.com. That's shoot270.com. It's an intensive class, and man, oh man, you need to be a part of it. If you want to up your game when it comes to crisis response, this is the class to take. Sentinel, look it up on shoot270.com. And better yet, go to Glockstore.com and see the incredible deals that they have going on in the world-famous Glock store. And stop by and say hello. Tell them Matt Murphy sent you to the one and only McGill's world-famous Glock store, just off of Elm Hill Pike on Airlane Drive. Go by today. Super Talk 99.7 WTN, Matt Murphy and you. Thank you for being with us on this Thursday, My Friday, episode 499. And Jason baked a cake. Jason baked a cake. Jason, thank you so much. Jason just hooked us up on the cake front. He's also talking on the super text line. Bell, thank you for getting that thought out there. I don't think that I'm going to read what you wrote to Jason.
Well, that was between me and Jason.
Okay, I will read it then.
Oh,
What's the cake for?
500th episode. No, actually, I'm sorry. Jason corrected me. That is just a happy Friday Eve cake.
Because if it was for 500, you're counting your chickens. What Dan around?
Well, that's true. Dan could end this thing at $4.99 like that. There's Representative Scott Sapicki, who joins us on these Thursdays during the legislative session.
We're back.
Always good to speak with him. Hello, Scott.
We're back.
How's it going?
Very interesting first week, as you can probably imagine.
You know, it was nice last week.
Yes, we got a lot accomplished.
How was down there in Murray County? You guys get a lot of snow?
About 7 inches. The worst day was when it started to warm up that one day and then had that deep freeze.
Yeah, the ice.
Turned the ice.
Yeah, I drove in every day, and the only day that I was a little nervous was after the little warm up and the ice, because you know what? If you know what you're doing, you can drive on snow. If you got a 4-wheel drive, particularly, nobody can drive on ice unless you got snow tires.
On ice, the 4-wheel drive helps you get out of the ditch you just slid into.
Right, after it melts a little bit.
Right.
Well, it was nice to not have the General Assembly in session to worry about. But now you're back.
Yes.
And doing good things over there?
So far, so good. Legislation is starting to get cranked up. January 31st is the filing deadline in the House. And I think 2 days later, I think February 2nd or 3rd, is the deadline in the Senate when all bills have to be filed for consideration.
I don't know if you guys are able to focus on what's happening from a federal perspective. I imagine that you can chew gum and walk down the hall at the same time. So you're dealing with state issues and at the same time watching what's going on at the southern border. I believe that there are two existential threats to the United States. One's long-term, that's our debt. I believe without dealing with that over the next 10 or 15 years, we're going to cease to exist as a country that we know. The more immediate existential threat is happening right now at the southern border. I was proud to see that the governor issued a statement this morning supporting Texas. Texas is saying no. Texas is saying, look, we understand that the Supreme Court says that the Border Patrol can cut our razor wire and whatnot, but we're here to defend the state of Texas. We're here to defend our citizens and to defend the Constitution of the United States of America in the absence of a Biden administration that will not do it. What, if anything, can the state of Tennessee do to support Texas?
Well, I would be willing to bet you right now that there's probably a representative that's probably getting some kind of joint resolution going, showing our unequivocal support for our brethren in Texas and their rights to stand up and defend their own citizens, like we would have a right to defend our own citizens in Tennessee from foreign terrorists or foreign invasion. I think they've got a great cause down there on the southern border. They're fighting for us. I told you off the air, we sent 100 of our volunteers from Tennessee down to the border to help our Texas friends out. And I would be willing to bet you that from what I've heard, I can't confirm this, but what I heard is the National Guard is possibly looking in to asking for volunteers to go down to help Texas once again.
Let's hope it happens. But it does affect us here in Tennessee. Every state's a border state. You were telling me a story walking down the hall. We were talking education, and I know that's you're laser focused on issues involving education, particularly this session. We'll talk about the choice bill and the scholarships in just a moment. But tell the story you were telling me that you have school teachers telling you that they have new kids in classrooms and they don't know what to do with them?
Yeah, that's right. The new border is your classroom in your county. We've got people coming here from all over the country that are winding up in our classrooms, and according to federal law, if they show up, we have to educate them. And we've got kids that are in their 5th, 6th high school years that are showing up and speak zero English and are being integrated into these classrooms, which is causing a lot of undue stress on our teachers of trying to figure out, okay, I'm teaching freshman English, and I've got someone in the classroom that's now an English language learner that's going to get help other places in the school, but they're expected to be in my classroom, and I have to teach them when they don't understand a word I'm saying. And so this border issue is all over, not only us, but it's all over the country.
What are you supposed to do if you're a teacher?
You do the best you can. That's all we ask. Just do the best you can. And, you talked about, we watch Washington, right? There's a lot of head shaking going on here in Tennessee about what's going on in Washington. And I would kind of push back on you a little bit about the biggest existential threat is Joe Biden.
Well, sure.
And we have got to get that under control. Don't touch me, Joe.
Just don't sniff anybody's hair, Joe.
But, we're at critical mass right now, especially in Tennessee, of the fentanyl coming across the border, the illegals coming across the border. They're illegals. They're not migrant residents or migrant whatever. They're illegals coming across the border. They're winding up in our schools. They're winding up in our jails. They're winding up on our social services. And we have got to get this fixed ASAP, because even if we do get it fixed, we close the border, they're all here still. We got to figure that out.
I like the fact that over the last couple of years, we've eliminated one of the talking points that liberals always used to give us is, well, they're not a net drain. They're a net benefit because they spend their money and they make money and they spend money in this country, and that's going to benefit these communities. Ask New York. Ask Chicago. Ask some of these other sanctuary cities and states whether or not they are begging the Biden administration to print more money so they can have it, so that they can continue to fund these illegal aliens in their communities that have been sent there, rightly so, by some of the border states. I love it. I love it because it's exposing the illogical nature of the Democrat argument.
What's really interesting is the money they're spending is the money the government's giving them that they took from us to begin with, that they're supposed to be protecting us with.
Yep.
It's just a circular equation that we sit here in Tennessee and we shake our heads going, what are y'all thinking up there? And if we don't fix this, we're headed to a place that we don't want to be.
I agree with you. And I don't know what our school teachers do with this when they're faced with the reality of, the administration only doing what the law demands that they do. I don't believe that our principals or our superintendents necessarily want to do this either, but their hands are bound.
Mm-hmm.
Your hands are bound.
Mm-hmm.
Federal law dictates that we can't say no.
Mm-hmm.
And the teachers are left carrying the burden of this, where they try to do the best they can to teach the students that can actually understand them in the midst of a classroom, as you described it, where there are kids who don't understand what they're saying.
And the odds of these people who are showing up illegally here that are paying property tax on something they own is probably zero, which means they are a direct burden to the taxpayer of Murray County or Williamson County. They are 100% on our dime, and this is not right.
No, it's not. And hopefully Tennessee will step forward. And I understand that the governor, I'm not knocking the governor. He did make a statement today. I want him to get on the show. I want him to talk to Middle Tennessee. I want him to talk to the entire state. And I'd love to see, as you mentioned, the possibility of more National Guardsmen from the state of Tennessee going down and assisting Texas in any way we can.
If I can throw some in real quick, when we talked about sending the 100 troops down there, Governor Lee called Governor Abbott and said, what can we do? What is substantial for us to do for you, right? And he said, I need bodies, right? So we asked for 100 volunteers, and we sent 100 volunteers down there. Possibly Governor Lee is in contact with Governor Abbott saying, okay, what do you need? What can we help you with? Because whatever we can help you with on your border is actually helping us in Tennessee.
Love it. Absolutely love it. I want to talk to you about more Tennessee matters with regard to some things going on in the General Assembly. I know that this is not your committee, but you just told me right before we came on air, you were in the room when the House Bill 1663 was being debated in criminal justice sub. And we had Representative Gloria Johnson, who just apparently made an appearance on the show. We had Gloria Johnson speaking up for the child rapists, apparently, making the odd claim that if you were to give prosecutors the opportunity to consider the death penalty in the most egregious and heinous of rape cases involving children under the age of 12, that's my understanding, that would somehow cast a chill effect over reporting, which I don't believe for a second. Look, if Gloria Johnson wanted to stand up or sit in committee and say, I'm against the death penalty, I don't believe that the state should put people to death, so I'm against this, that's an argument that I get. I understand reasonable people can disagree. I don't understand her argument in this. What is your takeaway?
I was going to present a bill after this all took place, and I was listening to this argument go back and forth, And at times it got surreal of the argument she was making. And I'm like, why are you defending the rapist? I mean, come on. And we're not talking, I mean, we're talking about the rape of a child under 12.
Right.
Okay. That is somebody that should not be in society at all, period. That you do that to a child. If she didn't like the bill, right? And I told you this. If she didn't like the bill, she could have filed an amendment to take death off the table, make it life imprisonment. And then she could have said, I can't support death. I tried to file an amendment. I'm just not going to vote. Fair enough, right? But you recognize the heinousness of the crime. I stand with Leader Lamberth on what he's trying to do. We have got to send a message to criminals. And by the way, if you don't break the law, it doesn't affect you, does it?
For me, and I don't want to lead the witness in any way, but for me, it's a no-brainer. For you, is it worth the cost? Because there will be a cost associated with this. In other words, we get this passed, and I think it will pass. The governor signs it. We will join, I think, 6 other states that have this on the books. 2008 Supreme Court case has determined that unless there is a criminal case involving the death of a person, that death penalty is off the table. That's what they ruled in 2008. What William Lamberth told me yesterday when he was on the show was, look, we got that. We understand that, but we want to get something on the record that will get it into the system, and we're willing to fight it through the system to see what the court has to say about it 15 years later. Mm-hmm. Are you there too? Yeah. Are you willing to spend that money for it?
100%. 100%. I will stand with those victims to make sure that they are treated with the respect that they should be, and these criminals stand the maximum sentence that they're supposed to be. I'm sorry, Matt, but I don't have any love lost for these people that rape a child under. If you rape somebody, period. But when you go to a child, I'm sorry, I just don't. You lose that part of your human being.
I do not believe that there is any redemption from that. Mm-hmm. Meaning, I don't believe that there's a way for somebody to somehow be reclaimed if they go there. So, I mean, that's where I'm at on it. All right, let's take a quick time out. Let's talk education when we come back. It's 118 Super Talk 99.7 WT. And I failed to mention, Steve Abramowitz will be along in the latter portion of this hour to talk to us about a number of pieces of legislation. And he will talk to us about transparency in government. I might ask you about that, too. They're so picky. Representative Scott Spiggey is with us, and we'll talk education in just a moment. The School Choice Scholarship Program on our table right after this on Super Talk. Super Talk 99.7 WTN 121, a packed hour. Really a packed show in as much as I'm out tomorrow, which would have been our 500th show. So there's a cake. Abramowitz, dig into that cake if you want it.
Oh.
Isn't that good?
Yeah.
Nice. It's a bunt.
Not on my diet, though.
Who doesn't like a bunt?
Steve Garvey?
That's good. You know what? It's hard to make me laugh out loud. You just made me laugh out
Smile
loud.
maker. That's why I come in here.
That's very, very good. He's getting over there. Well, he's not officially even on the show yet. So Bell just said, have him move the mic. Oh, yeah, whatever.
This mic?
Yeah, that mic.
Hello, everybody.
Scott Zapicki is with us. You can listen up and join in if you want to, Abramowitz, because I know you're on top of some of these issues. And we're talking to Scott now over the next 10 minutes or so about education and school choice. It is a piece of legislation that's set to come up before the House of Representatives. Talk to me. Where are we and where are we going and what do you expect?
Well, that's a big question right there, isn't it? How much time do you have?
10 minutes.
10 minutes. Wow, you're putting it gun. Let's all agree on one thing, right? We can have the best public schools in the country, and we can have an option for those parents that feel their needs aren't being met by the school system. We can do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
We are good enough to do that in Tennessee. I think we're going to have to really look at what the governor wants to do and how he wants to deliver the school choice. Make sure that we do things that we don't interfere with the private schools on what they're trying to deliver. Homeschoolers have made it unequivocally clear to me that they really aren't interested in government interference in the way they educate their kids. And so we got to address that. We got to look at the funding mechanism to it and how that is going to not only affect the budget, but how it's going to grow over time. We're going to have a huge campaign in Tennessee for expanding capacity of our privates.
Mm-hmm.
We got to get a hold of the diocese and all the different church schools and see their willingness and how much they're going to expand. And then we need to figure out, and I hear about this all the time, Matt, in the General Assembly, the private schools have an advantage over the public schools, right? And so we are working with the public school sector right now to say, okay, identify those things to us. What do they have that if you had could get us better results in our schools?
Mm-hmm.
And I think what you're going to see is some type of a educational omnibus bill that we've been trying to work on specific things of more autonomy and freedom for those districts that are high performing. Teachers that are level 5 teachers, maybe getting some relaxed evaluations instead of having to be evaluated every year. If you're a level 5 teacher, we give you some more autonomy so that you don't have to worry about the evaluation so much. You can go back into funneling your time into your kids.
When you say that word, have you beta tested that word, omnibus? Yeah. I mean, when you say the word, people cringe.
I know.
But what you're suggesting is that it can be more than just the specifics of the scholarship bill.
Yes.
That you can do things that would benefit public education on the side.
So we have the best of both worlds.
So for the most part, the folks that I talk to, mm-hmm. and I think that's a majority of Tennesseans, vast majority of Tennesseans, have no issue with giving parents more choice mm-hmm. in terms of where their kids go to school, to give them more flexibility. Mm-hmm. But those people fear the state having more ability to regulate or control private education and homeschooling. Mm-hmm. Help us allay those fears to a certain degree that people have, that if the privates are getting money through scholarship from the state, that's not also going to come with strings.
So that's I will give kudos to Indiana. Indiana has addressed that issue in the language of their bill. Now, remember this. One, I can't bind the hands of a future General Assembly. So whatever I put in law as a vote can be undone with a vote. So that's the first thing we got to get everybody to realize. So the will, I believe, in the General Assembly is not to do what the people are fearful of. But I can't speak for future General Assemblies. There has been some talk about possibly proposing some type of constitutional amendment that secures the rights of the private schools of preventing the interference from the General Assembly or any public school district interfering in their textbooks or their curriculum or how they deliver it to their students. In general, I think this, if we polled 100 people and we said, are you concerned about the educational outcomes of our private schools? 95% would probably say no, they're not. It's fine. They're doing a great job, right? Mm-hmm. If we ask that same poll of our public schools, we're probably going to get a different number, depending on which district you're in. We have to figure out how we can drive up the satisfaction levels and the academic results of our public schools so that really the reason you're choosing to go to the private school, educational-wise, is equal now, is that religious component.
The trick is on the scholarship front is to present a plan that creates some floor-level standards for who is eligible for the scholarship without that appearing to be regulations.
So we can do things like Indiana did was they said, okay, if you're going to qualify for this scholarship as a school, a private school, you have to go through certification of the state, right? We have to make sure we don't have Matt Murphy's pop-up school of education just to take advantage of the $7,000. So they put some guidelines
Hold
in
on. Note to self, don't call my new school the what did you call that? The pop-ups.
Pop-up
Anyway,
school.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
But that was one of the concerns we've had, right? Is now you're going to get all these pop-up schools all over the place because they're trying to figure out how to take advantage of the system.
They're not trying to educate kids. They're just trying to take advantage of the money.
So we have, like, I'll give Pope John Paul or Father Ryan, right? All these private schools, they're already are either certified either local by the state or they're certified by a nationally recognized organization that the State Board of Education also recognizes for their certification. Maybe we say if you're going to take advantage of the scholarship, we do a brief cursory certification to make sure that.
So it's up to you guys to clearly identify the differences to the Tennessee public between certification and regulation.
Correct. And that's our job.
And that's going to take, that's going to take selling the program.
And that's our job.
And when should we see some of the details? Because as Abramowitz and I have talked about quite a bit, the devil is always in the details.
So I've been told that the governor's legislation, we have asked him to open up Title 49, which is education, in its entirety. That gives the General Assembly the flexibility to not only address the issues like you brought up about protecting the private schools, homeschoolers, who's going to qualify for it, et cetera. It also allows us to look at the public schools and look at implementation of policies and procedures and plans to help make them a better educational outcome for our kids while doing this all under the same bill.
Let me let you address this in the final minute or so that we have left because you introduced me to the new Commissioner of Education in the state of Tennessee, Lizette Reynolds. And it's my understanding, I didn't see it when it happened, but I've read the news reports, that Tennessee Democrats are now calling on her resignation. How long has she been in a position? Less than a year, right?
Yeah, about 7 months.
They are now calling on Lizette Reynolds to resign, claiming that she is not legally qualified for the position, citing Tennessee Code Section 4-3-802, which specifies the Tennessee Department of Education must be overseen by a commissioner who, quote, shall be a person of literary and scientific attainments and of skill and experience in the school administration, who is also qualified to teach in the school of the highest standing over which the commissioner has authority.
Like Harvard.
Okay.
You stole that. What's your response?
So the second part of that about qualified for teaching, she meets that qualification right now because in the state of Tennessee, you just need a bachelor's of arts to be able to coach, or to be able to teach. So that's off the table, right? The other gobbledygook of words there.
Yeah, it's a really great. It's such a government. Shall be a person of literary and scientific attainments and of skill and experience in school administration.
Can you define that for me?
I cannot.
I guess we're going to have to get Mr. Scametti on to the show to come on and try. And he would probably say, I really can't tell you what that means.
She needs to run for office as a Democrat. She'd be fine.
And just call herself a Democrat and she'll be.
So here's my take.
Promise to vote Joe.
Commissioner Schwinn, came from the pedigree of the public school system and going up through the system, et cetera, right?
Cal Berkeley.
Okay. If you're going to change the system, don't we need somebody that's going to maybe think outside the box?
Amen.
Yes, please.
Right? So that we can have a rational discussion of, I'm not here to protect the system. I'm not here to protect the school. You know what my job is? Is to provide the best education for these kids so that when they grow up to be our age, they can help run the state.
Look,
Betsy DeVos couldn't have qualified for that gobbledygook that you talked about.
No,
she did a great job.
Yeah. So, you know what I do?
In my opinion.
So, Picky, I knew I really liked you when I found out how much Gloria Johnson hated you. So sometimes I assess my friend groups based on who hates them. So if the Democrats are yelling and screaming about Lizette Reynolds already, then I'm comfortable that I'm going to give her a shot to do a good job.
I'll tell you why. They're fearful that she's going to do what's best for the kids, not the system.
Well, they need to do a better job trying to get to that point where we're bettering the educational opportunities for our children instead of playing gotcha in committee rooms with her. And if they really had the children's interest in mind, they'd work with her, not against her.
Bless their heart.
Bless their heart. Any thoughts on the new Tennessee Titans football coach before you leave?
I'm more concerned about that guy who left Michigan, to tell you the truth.
Harbaugh.
Harbaugh, what a quitter.
I'm sure there's a nice payday for him.
So think about this, though. We lost one of the greatest coaches in.
Aren't you a fan of, like, Wisconsin?
I went to Wisconsin. Be careful about the cheeseheads there, Chief.
I didn't say
There's
anything.
a lot of cheese. There's a lot of cheeseheads.
I didn't say a disparaging word. I just asking.
But it's been a crazy year.
I just realized I'm the only Southerner in the room.
Debatable.
I got I got you beat.
Next year's going to be a whole nother universe of college football with the new Big 10 and Big 12.
Well, and
Big 14.
more info. I mean, the Saban thing. There are more and more people in his inner circle that are saying that he got out because of what college football is becoming.
It's free agency, but in the NFL, it's free agency after a 4-year contract. In college football, it's free agency every 15 minutes.
NIL, it's going to kill it, just like
they got to fix this.
They got to fix it because
it.
what Ohio State's doing right now is insanity.
So think about this. If you're Ohio State, now you got to pick all through Alabama's roster in the transfer portal, and you're going to get to pick through all of Michigan's roster.
And look, this is coming from a guy whose team of choice is at the top of the heap right now.
And they lost.
To stupid Nick Saban.
And their dog died.
So they lost, which means they are a loser, right?
So sad.
You know what? I got to go to a break right now. Bell tells
Here's
me
a
that.
Kleenex.
So, Biggie, thank you.
See you next week.
For everything. We'll see you next week. We'll talk to Steve Abramowitz about a number of things, including oversight of people like this, Representative Scott Spiggy. That's right after this on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. You know, sometimes I get distracted. Sometimes I am laser focused. That's why you like me. I hope you like me on Super Talk 99.7 WTN and the Matt Murphy Show. So I would suggest that I was being laser focused as I was talking with Steve Abramowitz of Mill Creek View, Tennessee, and we'll talk to him more in just a second. We were having a discussion off air. We were talking with Scott Sapicki before Scott went off to do his thing in the aftermath of his interview. And so I'm focused on those things. And then I look over, what in the hell are you doing over there, Bel K, on the super text line? That I look up, and the first thing I see is Jason saying, the sex worker goes by the name Max Murray. What?
That's really between me and Jason.
And me?
No,
Let's try
it doesn't say, hey, Matt.
Let's try to keep this show rated R.
Last
as
time
opposed
it
to
was
X.
murder hornets. This time it's prostitution texting. What is going on?
I don't know why you keep coming back. I don't know why you keep coming back.
Get
Steve
out in the
Abramowitz
nick of time.
is with us with Mill Creek View. Hello.
Great. Hi. No, you didn't ask. Hi. How are you?
How are you?
I'm great. Thanks.
Good.
I'm wet as a drowned rat. It
Yeah,
is
well,
raining.
you know, we need it.
Yeah.
That's what they tell me, that we need the rain. So.
The flowers and the crops need the rain.
And
yes.
the bees and all of those things that make the world go round.
We just need a clean rain.
I told Sapicki, I'll say to you, man, I don't think the General Assembly has ever performed as well as they performed last week.
When they were
Because
closed, yeah. Well, he is a big guy, and they shouldn't mess with him. They should listen to him and never talk back.
No, he's the guy they call when Gloria Johnson starts acting up.
She could take him.
I think it was last year, she lied and said Sapicki was blocking her path out of the.
Yes,
and then they showed the video of. I mean, it was like a 2-second thing where there was a bottleneck and he got out of the way and she left. Yeah, that's nice.
Well, I can't say lie. This is the thing about modern politics. They used to never say the word lie. It was always like, my good friend from across the aisle has misinformed you on something very. And now it's like lie. I don't know if that's a Trump era thing or maybe going back to Nixon, but they didn't lie. She just didn't understand the situation. She's just not,
You're so nice. You're so nice.
I come from Washington State where they do lie. So in Tennessee, they're not lying. This is chivalry, genteel.
You and I have discussed on your show. Yes, and check it
Episode
out.
169 now.
169. Who's the guest for 169?
That was you.
Oh, was that me?
Yeah, we're way
cool.
past that now.
Oh, wow. How many have you had?
Today will be 180.
You do one every day?
3 a day.
You do-
3 a week. What am I saying?
Oh, geez.
That would be worse. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. And you get some great guests, and I talk about you all the time, and it's a lot of politics, but it's not just politics. I mean, you do a lot of other things over there.
No, we've been doing a senator special for Tennessee. We had just Brent Taylor yesterday from Memphis, Jack Johnson, Mark Pody. We've also had Jody Barrett, Todd Warner to talk about this session that's starting. So it is politics for one. That's where I usually rank the highest, but I've had plenty of entertainers, which I enjoy. We had Rodney Atkins for my Christmas special. They sang for us live. That was awesome. If I died tomorrow, I'd be happy.
And once a month now, there's Murphy's Law.
Murphy's Law.
I like that.
Charles Bronson.
Love that. You and I mean, I don't know that I guess it is a mild disagreement.
Is it?
I believe it is more our job than anything to keep the public informed about what goes on committees. I kind of am more understanding. Let's put it this way. I am more understanding of the rationale that Republican leadership have presented as to why they go to voice votes in committee. But this is still something in your call.
Oh, voice vote? Sure. Yeah, we can talk about that. See, I'm all in favor of slowing the gears down as much as possible. That's how the Constitution was originally formed by the founders. Like, we do not want fast government. We do not want democracy, as everybody likes to say. Our democracy's at risk, where you just vote 51% and everything gets passed, because then they'd say, give me all the money in the treasury. Okay, 51%. That's not what they wanted. So it's supposed to be a constitutional republic, very slow, very deliberate, checks and balances. The Congress passes it, the Senate looks at it, the president vetoes it or whatever. So I'm not in favor of voice votes because, not so much here in Tennessee yet, but it could always happen. You never know. Any contentious issue that's like a 50-50 or a 49, like a election, in Washington State, they will hide behind that, and they would just go back to their people and say, well, I didn't vote for it. It was that jerk Matt Murphy who did it. You should blame him. Don't blame me.
Yeah,
just
always
give me
blame
money
me.
and vote for me. Yeah. So I'm not in favor of voice votes when they can just record them. And then I realized that the recording part is voluntary. So I know you were big on that. They say, well, it's written down if they want.
No.
Why would they want it to be?
Let me explain it. Once
issue?
again, Abramowitz, let me explain it to you. You are considered to be on the prevailing side unless you note it to the clerk, which prevents the type of nefarious activity that you suggest. So if a voice vote is determined to be the yeas have it, then if you want to be recorded as a nay, all you have to do is say, hey, clerk, record me as a nay. Gloria Johnson did it the other day with the
What
rape
if you don't
bill.
want to be recorded as either one?
Then you can tell them that. You can tell present not voting.
And then how will you know?
You tell the clerk present not voting.
Then how will you
And it gets
know
recorded.
as a constituent that they voted the way they told you they would when you saw them at the Lincoln Day dinner?
Well, you go to the website, and it shows you the committee votes.
I am so glad that you said that, because when they had the vote in the committee about whether or not to have voice votes or roll call votes, they took a voice vote, and it wasn't on video. You couldn't check their mouths, so they hid behind their own vote on their own vote.
And William Lamberth came on my show a day or two after and admitted that he made a mistake and that he apologized to Richie. He told Richie afterwards that he had promised him a recorded vote and that he did not give him the promised recorded vote, and he apologized for that.
Now, this is not the end-all, be-all of voice votes ever in the history of the United States to point at, but yes, it is good that he came back afterwards and said, oops. There was another vote where there was an oops that was actually a really big deal, but like my point is Tennessee's pretty good at this.
Look, I would agree with you. One thing, you get me one thing and I'll agree with you. And you'll say, I got Matt Murphy on my side and I beat Murphy.
Okay.
You ready?
I don't want to beat you, but okay.
If they, you talk about the founding fathers and the slow wheels of government. If you get me the same per diem that they got in the 1800s today, then I'll agree with you. But that's not the case.
It's pretty darn close, you know. They only make $30,000 for the 4 months.
Well, but they tell me that you'll grind it. They'll grind out another couple of months of being here on the taxpayer dole.
Special sessions. If they behave themselves, they won't have to do that because most of the things in the special session they could have done.
Look, I would be fine with them only meeting once every 2 years.
Well, let me ask you this: if they had a choice between getting rid of roll call votes and only having voice votes, would you like that or not?
Well, of course not. I mean, they vote. There's no voice vote on the floor.
There's in the Senate.
Only in committees.
Oh, it's the opposite. In the Senate, they have to do roll call. In the
committees.
In the assemblies, they have this option, and they shouldn't have it, I don't think.
But it does not give me the level of heartburn that it gives you. But
let's talk about it after a really contentious 50-50 vote where all of a sudden Republicans act like Democrats in the final committee decision, and you say, oh, maybe they should have roll called that so I could actually talk to him on my show the next day.
And then that decision goes to the floor where all of them have to go on record to get it past the House of Representatives.
The floor is different because these are the gatekeepers. There's a recorded vote. But these are the gatekeepers we're talking about to even get it.
Yeah, but they still have to vote on the floor, Steve.
Yeah, ultimately, if they allow it out.
If we're holding...
But what if they don't
if we're holding them to account, they have to vote on the floor in favor of a measure. And so if it's a measure that the Tennessee people don't want, how's it going to get past the floor unless the people that you suggest are hiding vote for it?
The committee.
It doesn't get past the floor where there's a recorded vote. The committee means nothing if the floor doesn't vote it.
The committee has to vote it out.
To the floor where there's a recorded vote.
I think we're saying the same thing. I'm not sure. So in Washington State, right this very minute, there was 400,000 signatures for a referendum, and the committee voted no to hear it. That's the key. And so now you have to go back to every single one of them that the majority said no and say, why won't you let that be voted on?
Well,
now they have to go to the ballot in November.
I'm talking about Tennessee.
I know, but
I'm not talking about Washington State.
My whole mantra of the show is to avoid making the mistakes of
Tennessee's
Washington.
Actually going the other direction. Tennessee was Democrat.
More transparency?
No, Tennessee was Democrat and is becoming redder and redder.
True.
And I understand that Washington State is different. What I'm saying is that in order for a bill to be passed out of the House of Representatives,
yes,
every single member of the House voting is on record in order for something to pass out of the House.
Yeah, but that's step 2. Step 1.
Every single member is on record in order. So how is that hiding?
It's step 1 that's the hiding.
How is that hiding?
Because if a committee votes by voice and doesn't tell you who they were that said yes or no.
And those are recorded, actually. You're considered to be on the prevailing side unless you otherwise denote that you're not. But go ahead.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Every committee vote is recorded?
Unless you don't trust the House Majority Leader.
What's the point of the roll call versus the voice then?
it speeds the process up so we don't waste time and money.
And so if a voice vote is happening and it's roll call anyway, isn't that just a roll call vote?
But it's not roll call. They don't call individual names. They do ayes and yays, and the sponsor can request a roll call.
How many people?
And
on
three
a,
members
how many
of the
people on a committee?
I mean, it varies.
6.
I think the biggest ones are 24.
So that could be a little slower, which
That's
is
rules.
okay. I would hope it'd be important enough.
Right,
to
and
do.
so what the Democrats want to do is they want to clog the system by saying, like, say Justin Jones, for example, if he's on a committee, he's not on education anymore, but let's pretend he is.
He's not, which is
well,
good.
thank goodness. But and he's screaming and yelling about that, and Justin says, "Oh well, I want to make a motion to table." And in the world of roll call votes, he can demand a roll call vote on his motion to table. And then, you know what else he can do? He can make another motion to table, and another motion to table, and another motion to suspend, and another motion to this. And the Democrats want to use the itty-bitty minority to clog the system so much and waste so much of the taxpayers' time and money that it grinds everything to a halt. And good legislation gets ground to a halt along with the bad.
There are 1,500 bills average that get asked to be voted on per session for the last decade. Of them, about 900 or so get passed. Some of them are nullification bills, so really it's about 600 to 400. The fact that they could slow that down by minimizing it, I'm actually in favor of it, whether it be Democrats or Republicans using that parliamentary trick to do it, mostly because this state is 200 years old and it's the most awesome state in the whole country, maybe the whole world.
Got awesome through voice votes.
Nope. Not awesome through voice.
Oh, no. I'm sorry. There are voice votes.
I didn't hear you right. You're saying they've had that in forever.
Right.
I agree, but I want to be able to know who voted for what, when.
This is my
Every
favorite. This
single
is
time.
my favorite part of my favorite type of disagreement because I love you to death and I understand what you're saying and I think
Hey,
you understand what I'm saying. We just disagree on.
Matt, when I was driving up here, I woke up this morning. I knew we were in World War III because Marsha Blackburn was on my show and told me that. I did not have Civil War on my bingo card, so I really do want to talk about Chairman of the Homeland Security, Mark Green from Tennessee, and what in the heck is he going to do about Tennessee being a border state.
And I agree with, I think 1223 speaks for most of the audience. And you and I are nerds.
It's a weird name.
1223 says boring.
Oh,
I know.
Sorry.
Whatever. I mean, no, but we're in the weeds. That's
Yeah.
okay.
Well, that's why sports and weather and commercials come in on radio. You can listen to the podcast and it's not so boring. What do we got to do to shake it up a little bit?
We're going to shake it up with border and Homeland
Tune in
Security
after
and
the
Mark
commercial.
Green.
We'll take our tops
We're gonna
off.
we're gonna get it go. Take our tops off. Steve Abramowitz, Mill Creek View. Back in a moment. 51 after the hour.
Boring.
Hey, friends, it's Matt Murphy, and I want to talk about Pat Davis and Your Health Plan Man. Pat Davis can assist you if you have medical issues, if you have health insurance issues. Let's talk to Your Health Plan Man and yourhealthplanman.com to find out what they can do for you. Do not trust the government. Ever, 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 ever. Do not trust the government. And the Health Plan Man's Freedom of Choice plan puts you in front of the government, meaning you get to make decisions about your plan, not the government making decisions and mandating those for you. Isn't that nice to know that you have more freedom of choice? That's why they call it the Freedom of Choice plan. It puts most of the coverage up front with no deductible. You pick your doctors, and it's 30 to 60% lower than Obamacare, and you don't have to pay for that which you do not need. For example, mandates like maternity coverage. If you don't need it, you don't pay for it. Now, he wants to dispel, does Pat, a rumor that you can't change coverage if it's not open enrollment. Not true. Find out more at yourhealthplanman.com. Now, in some cases, it might be a little more difficult. Each case varies and each case is different, but you owe it to yourself to make the call or go visit the website to find out more. He can go to any insurance company of your choosing. He can shop around and find you the best deals. That's what the advantage is with Pat Davis. He is kind of your insurance concierge in that regard. Yourhealthplanman.com or give him a call at 855-475-2662 for Your Health Plan Man. Call today. Super Talk 99.7 WTN Abramowitz. We're done. Okay. And I'm sad. I'm sad that we're done.
It was fun. And then I'll go back in the rain, and I'll be back in the
I have to do commercials. You don't, and I'm jelly.
Sports and radio, top of the hour.
I like commercials, though. They make all of this free, which is nice. Hey, thank you for everything. Yeah. MCView.us, MCView.us. More to come. We'll talk about the possibility of civil war next time you're on, okay?
And Murphy's Law.
Love it.
Bye.
We'll be back. One more hour to go. Murphy Show, Super Talk.
Yeah.
It is 2 o'clock. I'm Mac Maury with your top stories. Currently 60 degrees and that rain still falling. It has been a extremely wet week, and that flood watch still in effect for a portion of the mid-state through this afternoon. Counties affected: Bedford, Coffee, Giles, Grundy, Lawrence, Lewis, Marshall, Murray, Perry, Van Buren, Warren, and Wayne. So just watch out for those lower-lying streams and creeks. They will be rising. Got a forecast coming up in 2 minutes. The defamation case against former President Trump continues in New York today with the testimony of Carol Martin, a retired journalist and Carol's one-time friend, to describe what she witnessed as her friend revealed her bombshell allegations against the former president, Aaron Katersky, in Manhattan, with more.
Carol's messages expressed concern that her friend was enjoying the attention a little bit, even at one point saying her narcissism has run amok and that she was a drug addict, that a drug is herself. And the defense's whole point here is that what E. Jean Carroll has said is the harm she suffered from Donald Trump's defamatory statements is overblown.
Immigration, a key issue this election season, with Texas Governor Greg Abbott doubling down on his demand for stronger border security and other actions. Karen Travers on how negotiations are going between the Biden administration and congressional Republicans over border security and the president's push for aid to Ukraine.
It seemed this week like they were inching closer to the finish line. The White House told me just 2 days ago that they were very optimistic, that they were getting closer to being able to announce an agreement. But right now it is looking like things are a little bit more precarious. There is no deal to announce. There's no bill text. The appropriators have been meeting behind closed doors to talk about the numbers, the money that would be put toward any agreement on these major changes, but we don't even have details of what they're talking about yet. They've been keeping it so close and behind closed doors.
And Bill Lee is among the nation's governors expressing support for Texas in the southern border security dispute. Texas Governor Greg Abbott isn't allowing federal agents to areas where the Supreme Court says federal agents have authority to remove razor wire to keep out illegal aliens. Governor Lee issued a statement this morning saying the federal government's failure to secure the southern border is jeopardizing the safety of all Americans. Tennessee has always stood with Texas and always will. That is the latest news. Weather's coming up next. I'm Mac Maury, WTN News.
Here we are, and here we go. It's episode 499. We continue on the Matt Murphy radio portion of the broadcast day. We'll hand off to Brian Wilson coming up in less than an hour. We'll find out from Brian what he has in store for the drive. This is my Friday on Thursday. As I am out tomorrow, I'm headed down Tampa way.
Ooh.
You know what, Mac? You're never going to Tampa with me. You're never going to Tampa with me.
Why is that?
That's one of my favorite Ray Stevens songs.
Oh.
You ever heard it?
No.
You know who Ray Stevens is?
Heard that name, yeah.
All right, let's move on from that. Hey, Mac Maury's in the studio with us for a good reason. We'll tell you what that reason is in just a moment. We remind you that we're covering all of Donald Trump is apparently taking the stand in the E. Jean Carroll case. We're covering that for you. We're monitoring the goings-on the southern border. As the Texas governor says, look, we're trying to follow the Constitution of the United States. If you won't, we will, which creates something of a constitutional standoff between the state of Texas and the United States government. This is not unprecedented. Let's stop it with the unprecedented. There have been disputes between the states and the federal government in the past. All will be worked out. However, I would suggest that we need to, in Tennessee, take a stand along with Texas, and I would suggest to you that we do so by offering up National Guardsmen or whatever the needs of Texas might be to protect our southern border from what I consider to be an invasion. Many of you agree with that. In the meantime, we're monitoring some other situations as well, to include, have you seen that? I know you have. You follow the news. This Chris Young thing?
Yeah.
It looks bad.
It's looking uglier and uglier. The more info we get, it's like,
looks bad. Now, we have asked Bell, before we get into Friday Mac Attack, Bell,
it's coming.
You have, and it's coming.
Oh, it's happening.
It is on Friday Mac Attack on Thursday. You have some new information. I asked Bell, as executive producer of the broadcast, to reach out to the Alcohol Beverage Control Board.
Okay.
Whoever their public relations person is, we wanted to have them on, right?
Love it.
Yeah.
Bell is not in a good mood today.
No.
Do you know why? Do you know why that is, Mac?
Why?
Do you know why Bell's not in a good mood? Because he had to deal with government. That's why.
Oh,
That's 100% true.
that's why.
I'm telling you, if the government would just act more responsive to the will and needs of the people that they govern, we would have far less. The DMV, for example, is the front porch of government for most people.
Mm-hmm.
And the DMV sucks.
It sucks.
Oh, it's terrible.
It's the worst place.
But if you want to know sucks, so tell us about your experience real quick.
So I went to the website that you had sent me the link to, and I called that number that is on that website, and it wouldn't even ring. The call just disconnected each time. But the number's still up there on the website naturally. So there was a second number, and I called that one, and lady was very kind to me, but did not seem to have an understanding of who I was trying to reach and what I was trying to do in terms of having somebody from the department come on and define what their powers are versus what the police department powers are, what their mandate is versus a police officer's mandate. And I was getting so frustrated that I finally called Senator Jack Johnson's office, who's a very good friend of the show and the Senate leader here in Tennessee. And if any of you namby-pamby liberals ever say that Jack Johnson is not in favor of reducing gun violence, you can kiss my butt, because he kept me from sticking a gun in my mouth, because he went out of his way to help me contact you guys just think I'm dark.
Exactly.
It's Bell's turn on Super Talk 99.7 WZM. Go ahead, please.
And so he knows the gentleman who is the head of media relations over there, and he was like, "I'm going to pass this off to my assistant, and he'll take care of this for you. We'll get you hooked up." And about 15 minutes later, Jack sends me a text going, "Hey, this guy's going to call you." And he did, thanks. And again, super shout out to Jack Johnson, because I wouldn't have gotten anything done if it hadn't been for him. And then the gentleman called me, and I explained to him what we wanted to do in terms of the A/B comparisons. And he asked if there were going to be questions about Chris Young. And I said, well, this entire interview arises out of that event. And, that's why we want to know what an ABC agent is versus a police officer. And he said, well, we've already put a statement out regarding that. I can email that to you. And I was like, well, okay, but, can we get somebody to come on to talk about the difference in...
Yeah, more generally, what authority do you have to ask for my identification inside of a bar?
What can you not do as an ABC agent? What are you expected to do, versus a police officer?
It's a public service.
And as I understand it, this gentleman was the head of the media department, and his response was very politely. He was nothing rude about anything he said to me. He was like, well, let me talk to my people, and we'll figure it out. Well, I was under the impression he was the people.
You are the people.
What?
You're the head honcho of this department.
And so it was just, a lot. If I deal with that, and you brought a great point up, Matt. If I'm dealing with that as a member of the media, and I have to go to that extent to call a senator.
No, we had to call in a favor.
Yeah.
In order for you to get to that point.
Use a connection.
And again, I thank you, Jack. You were so helpful. I appreciate the efforts right in the middle of the General Assembly. But what does a normal person have to do as a business owner or a patron or whatever the case may be?
Garbage.
Yeah, it's trash.
Total garbage. Because the question is a good one. It's not specific to the incident involving Chris Young. I want to know what authority that ABC agents have to demand an identification from me.
What is
if I'm sitting in the doghouse or sitting in tin roof and I'm just minding my own business, I've committed my obligation is to show my identification to the bartender or to the representative for the bar. And I've done that.
And they have every right to refuse you if you don't.
That's right.
If you don't show that.
And they can tell me to leave. So some rando who says he's from the ABC board walks up and says, hey, I want to see your ID. Go pound sand, buddy.
And street clothes.
Yeah, what authority do you have? Well, now, in this case, and I wouldn't get into specifics with the guy, in this case, Chris Young shows him his ID. He scans it. And then, I can just see myself. I don't know Chris Young, but I can just see myself doing this. I do it, not really understand what. And then I'm sitting there going, What the hell just happened? And so he goes to ask the guy what happened. And we now see on the video that he just kind of stopped him. He lightly touched his hand on the guy's shoulder, and the guy shoved him to the ground. In the report that the ABC guy, he just lied in the report. He said that Chris Young pushed him. A lie.
Yeah,
and he
absolute
needs to be
lie.
fined.
Absolute lie.
And he needs
now,
to be fined.
if you want to take the definition of assault down to its bare minimum, Chris assaulted him because he touched him. But you can tell through the interactions, he was trying to get his attention. He was not trying to accost him, and the guy's response was way over the top.
And then immediately Young just kind of puts his hand and was like, whoa.
Yeah.
Hey, no, I don't. And then they arrested him. Anyway,
Nuts.
But I just want to know, because I don't believe that I have any obligation as a citizen. If Mac Maury and I are sitting at a bar and Belle Kay is there, sadly.
Sadly, thanks. Make my day worse.
So mean.
I just realized I should include it. The three of us are sitting at a bar, and then some guy that I've never met in my life, and he says, I'm from the ABC board. Well,
Suck it.
Yeah, no, get out of here.
No, what?
Go talk to the owners of the bar, whatever. And if he demands, I want to know if I have to show him my identification or not. I don't think that I do. I'm not being accused of doing anything wrong.
Yeah, and for a agent of the state to force you to ID yourself, they have to have reasonable, articulable suspicion that you have committed a crime, you are committing a crime, or you're about to commit a crime. And that if you're not doing anything wrong, you can tell them, I'm not showing you anything.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing while you're talking. You're very right. You're absolutely. I heard every word you said. Read what Jason said on the super text line.
It's always Jason.
Look, Jason gets to do it. Look, did you see the cake?
That's from Jason.
Yeah. Grab the cake. Get up and grab the cake and show the listening audience. So if you missed it in the first hour, Monday's episode is our 500th edition of the Matt Murphy Show on Super Talk 99.7. And Jason, look.
I mean, this is amazing.
That's a bun. We're going to crack that thing open here in a minute.
This is awesome.
It says that's good. That's good
Really
stuff
good.
right there. All right, we've got Friday Mac Attack coming up. As a matter of fact, Jason said, I'm gonna sanitize it.
As needed.
Jason said, the ABC guy reacted like my wife does when I tell her that I want relations. Get out of here. Get out of here.
What are you talking about?
You're arrested. You're in the doghouse. Like, what? I just... What? I just... request. With all that in mind, ladies and gentlemen, it's 2:15. I know that it's just Thursday, but it's my Friday. It's time for Friday Mac Attack. All right, Mac Maury.
Oh, and before we start, I need to apologize to the Super Talk viewers. I don't know what the hell that camera's doing, but I'm fighting with it, and I'll try to keep things framed as best I can for you.
Are you talking about the big
Yeah.
boy? I mean, you could just do the 2.
No, that one's off too, so let's just do it, and I'll work it.
All right.
But I apologize to
It's got a mind of its own.
It does. You have to deal with it, right?
It's very weird.
It's odd, but we'll figure it out.
We'll get there.
Look, we're building. We just passed a year of Talk TV at all.
Let's go.
And at first, there was no camera in there. There was no secondary camera.
There was no backgrounds
There
here.
was no background. I mean, we're growing. We're
We got
doing
lights.
it.
We're doing things.
It's like your podcast.
It's happening.
Yeah,
Give me
you're
some time.
behind the 8 ball, right? It's kind of like what you are.
Yeah, exactly.
When it
Yeah,
comes
yeah.
to your
What this draft is currently behind the 8 ball.
Yeah, we are behind the 8 ball. But, all right, no news tease for Mac Maury because we're not going to have time. So, what do you got?
So today, I thought we should. Do you want me to explain it? We've been doing it a while. Do you want me to get the?
Everybody knows what the draft is, right? We draft like we're drafting a sports team. We each get a selection. Once a selection is off the board, nobody else can take it, and it's different subjects. There you go.
That's it. Yep. 3 rounds. We each get 3 picks, 9 total picks. Today, we will be drafting the worst places for a first date. This is a fun one. This is a good
The
one.
worst places for a first date.
Yep. Worst places you could take your person.
You've met someone.
Yep.
You like them a lot.
Yeah.
Maybe you met them at, your place of business, church, maybe at college, school, randomly meeting them at the grocery store, strip club. Sure. Ever tell you the time that Bell met his ex-girlfriend at the strip club?
No, not just my ex-girlfriend, my first girlfriend.
His first girlfriend.
Yes.
She was working there.
She was working there.
That's a true story.
Absolutely. it is.
What? Absolutely true story. Strip club might be in the running for one of us to draft.
Yeah, I was about to say that's a great draft.
It's a pretty good draft. Actually, now that I think about it, we should probably shut up. All right, so worst place to take your significant other. Here's what I want to do. And I don't know how to do this because we've wasted so much time. All right, we'll just have to go quick. Okay, let's get the draft order. We always do it by odds or evens. Bell, you ready?
Yeah.
Odds or evens, and 1, 2, 3, go!
Oh, wow. First pick. Let's go.
All right, Bell, what am I holding?
1.
Yeah.
All right, so
All right, Bell's
it goes
last.
Mac Maury, Matt Murphy, and then Bell K. What is the worst place to take a first date, Mr. Maury?
So I've kind of got a hot take here. This is not, what's been mocked as the number 1 pick. Scouts haven't been looking at this guy, but I look at this and I see it different.
Uh-huh.
I think there's a lot of potential here.
Uh-huh.
Bowling alley. Now, here's why. You say, what? Bowling's fun.
Bowling
Bowling's
alley?
fun. Why
Wait a minute.
not?
If you have to explain your draft pick, if it's not self-explanatory,
This is like-
what the stats aren't telling you why
No, we believe in him.
This is good.
No, Anthony Richardson's going to be a great.
It's for guys specifically because guys, especially if you're a competitive guy, as am I, as are you.
Yep.
You put on the shoes. Shoes don't look good. Step 1. You got your socks showing. They don't line up with the pants. You look weird.
I kind of like the shoes, but anyway, go ahead. That's fine. You know
Not
what?
me. Yeah, it's your music, man.
You draft offense, I'll draft defense. That's fine.
Your legs flying up in the air. It kind of looks weird. You're getting competitive all of a sudden with her. She's bowling a 65. You're at like 130, and you're like, yeah, let's go. As you order another pitcher of Bud Light, it's just not good.
Okay, if you order Bud Light, are you there with a girl?
As soon as I said that, I said, oh, that's a blunder. Here we go. Super text line, ignite.
That's a blunder. I like that. All right, so bowling alley. It's your pick. It's not my pick.
Yeah.
My number 1 selection, I have a number of them I feel very strongly about. There's a lot of good. There's a lot of good in this draft. There's a lot of good in this draft. But I'm going to go traditional. You could go kind of off the board and go crazy with this.
Yes.
And that's for maybe later on.
Yeah, later on, I think that'll happen.
I'm going to go Cheesecake Factory. If you take a first date to the Cheesecake Factory, you're a loser. She knows it. She doesn't like you, and there's not going to be a second date. Cheesecake Factory is my number 1 selection in the draft. Mr. K.
This is actually something I do not do because it's there's absolutely no interaction when you do it. But I will not take a first date to a movie because all you do is sit and stare at a screen for 2 hours. You're not interacting at all. There's no exchange of information. So it's like, what's the point?
Yeah, I think that's great. You learn nothing.
By the way, Keith writes in and says, bowling, legs flying everywhere? What kind of bowling is that, Maury? It sounds like my kind of bowling, actually, but,
Matt's
whatever.
a very violent bowler.
You know what I'm talking about? The follow through.
And Dakota, I like your selection so much that I might steal it for one of mine. Anyway, it's such a good. I'm gonna look whatever.
Yeah, that's an advantage you guys have. I don't have access right now currently.
Selection number 2, Mr. Maury. Worst place to take a first date.
Graveyard. No explanation.
Yeah, but
needed.
after the first date, if you're mayor, it's a go-to.
There it is, exactly.
I was about to say, I think Megan Barry would disagree with you. I think Matt Murphy disagrees with you. I mean, you're not dating the right kind of girls if you don't want to go.
That's apparently correct. Yeah.
I mean, apparently so. My number 2 selection is the dump.
What?
The dump.
The dump.
Why would you take a girl there ever?
Right.
That's exactly why.
I mean, isn't that what we're doing?
Well, basically what you're saying,
if it's a worse place to take a girl ever, then it's probably going to be pretty bad on your first date.
Yeah.
Hey, let's go shoot rats down at the dump.
But you're also saying, hey, we're not going to go to the dump on the first date, but maybe it's an option for the second or third.
7885 says the dump should be disqualified because it's never a date destination. One, you've never lived in Alabama, obviously.
Ouch.
Dang.
So there's that. Belle?
Any concert.
What do you mean any concert?
Any concert. Because, again, just like with movies, it's loud, you're not talking, no interaction. What's the point?
I disagree, and I'm not going to judge your draft
methodology. I'm saying
methodology.
that specifically for a first date.
I disagree with your draft methodology. I think that there can be comfort in movies. I think there can be comfort in concerts, and it can help.
I don't believe in comfort.
I think it can help fill the void. I mean, says the. Never mind. I'm not going to. You don't have a good draft record in this subject.
I don't have a good dating record.
That's exactly right.
But the thing is, dinner in a movie, dinner in a concert, that's a great date then.
I would think.
Because then you start with the dinner, you talk, you get to know each other, get a couple drinks,
Right.
You go to the movie or you go to the concert, you have a great time.
You whisper.
Yeah, do you like that?
What's he doing?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I kind of like that.
Yeah,
we don't like your draft.
Yeah, I was about to say,
methodology.
I'm out. I'm out on your draft.
Your draft is trash, Belle.
You know what? I don't care about your opinion.
Which is something that Belle has said on plenty of first dates. That's right. Belle, that's a go-to line for Belle.
Exactly. I'm going to go any sporting event.
Well, especially with you, because you're not even going to realize they're there.
No, I'm not even going to be talking, looking at them.
She'll say, hey, where did you go to? Shut up.
Stop. The play's happening.
All right. We're getting a lot of great responses, and I'm not going to use any of them, so I'm just going to throw some of them out there. Yemen. Which is the one I was
thinking. When it's being attacked or no?
A funeral is pretty good.
Yeah.
Well, you never take a girl to a funeral because you can pick them up there. Just like if it's a husband who died, at least one single woman's there.
Yeah. 2151 says, I just got in the car. I'm late. Why are y'all doing Friday Mac Attack draft? Because I'm out tomorrow. That's why. 2151. My number 3 choice. What are your 3 choices now? You've completed your draft. You went bowling alley, trash. You went
graveyard.
That's pretty good.
Sporting event.
Sporting event. Are you worried that you're going to pay attention to the sporting event and not the girl?
Yeah.
No, it's not. It's not might. He would be paying attention to the game to the exclusion of the girl.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, I'm kind of hungry. You want to go get a... Shut up. Stop.
Whoa.
I would never say that.
Whoa.
Close your cake hole when they're in a huddle.
I'm going to go for my third selection. My number 1 pick was Cheesecake Factory. Feel real good about it. Number 2 was the dump. My number 3 pick, we're going to go a little more on the board. The gym.
Ooh.
It's not a good first date.
No.
Hey, I mean, for obvious reasons, I don't think I need to say any more, ladies. How would women respond if you say, you know what, where we should go for our first date? the gym.
Well, you know what?
Because you look like you could lose a little.
But if they're both already buff and in shape, a lot of times people will do that.
Yeah,
but you're not going to ask,
But then you'd like meet at the gym probably too. Yeah.
Yeah.
The gym. I'm standing by it. Bell, final selection.
Well, you foreshadowed mine like an ass, but yeah, a strip club. That's a second or third date thing.
Hey, Cheryl, I've been meaning to ask you, would you like to go out sometime, maybe have some drinks? Yeah, I think I would.
some.
This is great. Where you want to go? You know, the Hustler Club.
Hustler.
Can you bring the beer?
Can you bring
Or
the
alcohol?
ones?
You know, it's BYOB. I'll bring the ones, you bring the hooch.
Is that a thing at some strip clubs?
That's a thing at the
BYOB
Really?
Club.
BYOB. Wow.
It's BYOB. They can't. What is that? Because of what they want to take off? I
Yeah.
think that's what that is.
Yeah, that's
it's
part
based
of it.
on what they want to take off.
Gotcha.
But while you're there's a minimum amount of mixers you have to buy, which are like $8 with nothing in it but juice.
Yeah, they sell the setups.
Oh, okay. So you bring your whiskey and then
They're not allowed to sell alcohol, but they will let you bring alcohol in. But you have to buy their setups.
okay.
So that's the way
That's
that
what
works.
that. Yeah.
Not that I haven't been to a strip club in
I was gonna
25 years. For my wife who's currently listening, honey, you know that I don't do that. So there you go. So there you go. There's the Friday Mac Attack draft on a Thursday on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. And once again, I have clearly won. It's 226 on Super Talk. USS stands for United Structural Systems. Friends, let's talk about your home, one of your largest investments that you'll ever make. For most of us, it is the largest single investment that we'll ever make, and you need to protect said investment. For that reason, I encourage you, if you notice any of the signs, and I'll tell you what some of those are, of foundation issues, if you notice any of the signs for water issues, then it's time to call the best, call USS. They're just good at what they do. I heard Chris Hand say this the other day, and he's exactly right. USS speaks house, and you need someone who speaks house. They understand all of those signs of potential trouble long before it's going to cost you an arm and a leg. Get in front of it with a visit from USS. So if you've smelled any funny smells in your basement or crawl space, if you believe that you have moisture in said basement or crawl space, if you've noticed foundational issues, including cracks in your basement or crawl space, those stair-step cracks, sinking or lowering of steps or stairs, it's time to get USS on the case. USS, United Structural Systems, they guarantee their best, and they've been keeping homes stable and dry since 1994. That's 30 years and 25,000 plus satisfied customers. 615-488-7855. 488-7855. They guarantee their best. USS.
Coming up, we take a look at.
All right, let me get in here and apologize to Bell K and to Mac Maury for running that segment so long that it screwed up Bell's computer. Not only are our Super Talk television cameras screwed up on the TV side of things, I have screwed this the formatics of the show up to the point. No. I'm taking the blame. My name on the door. I have to take the responsibility. And I'm going to continue to take responsibility until you stop looking despondent and look at me and suggest to me that we're ready to go to news. And so I will say thank you for joining us for 499 episodes. Sadly, the way this show is going, there might not be a 500th, but we will enjoy some delicious vanilla cake, thanks in part to Jason, who provides said cake, thankfully, because of our impending 500th episode. It's 4:32 on Super Talk 99.7. I'm still waiting for a sign. I'm just
4:32?
Okay. I don't even know. I don't even know what I'm just waiting for Pally. He gave me the thumbs up, and now I'm going to stop talking and let Mac talk some more.
It's 2:32. I'm Mac Maury with your top stories. 58 degrees, got light to heavy rain all around Middle Tennessee. Got a flood watch in effect through this afternoon. Weather forecast on the way in 2 minutes. Peter Navarro today sentenced to 4 months in prison in order to pay a fine of $9,500. The former aide to former President Donald Trump sentenced for contempt of Congress after being convicted of refusing to testify and turn over documents to the House January 6 committee. Here's Navarro after sentencing.
I would say that my standing up on this matter, we've already achieved an important victory. The Department of Justice attorneys, after pressure from not just from my defense team, but also from the judge himself, finally acknowledged that senior presidential advisors, such as myself, cannot be compelled to testify.
Navarro said, quote, "What my defense team has beautifully done is cooperation with the court, and it's set up a roadmap for all future prosecutions." New data released this morning shows the country's GDP grew at a shockingly strong pace last quarter. While experts are hopeful it demonstrates continued economic resilience in the U.S., some financial concerns still remain. That's the record high credit card debt in the U.S., topping $1 trillion last year. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Mac Maury, WTN News.
We always like to say, don't take a pill, call Dr. Gill when we talk about the Dr. Gill Center for Back, Neck, and Chronic Pain Relief. A lot of folks have been saying that for a long time in Nashville, and for the past 2 years, I've been reminding you of the person that I go to assist in my back pain, and that is the Dr. Gill Center. I speak with either Dr. G or Dr. Wendy, Dr. Dominic, Dr. V. They're all good people. It's a team approach with chiropractic care first and foremost in their mind, but they do so much more than that. With their Class 5 laser system, red light therapy, their spinal decompression, they get to the root cause of the pain. They alleviate the pain in a natural way. They use E-stim and other techniques to help alleviate that pain so you don't have to continue to pop pills, so you don't consider punching needles, or you don't consider surgery. That should be a last resort. Let's go to the Dr. Gill Center. Let's get the natural way to solve that pain problem that you might have been experiencing for years now. Let's make 2024 a pain-free year. With the Dr. Gill Center for Back, Neck, and Chronic Pain Relief, specials abound. Call them and get your initial appointment today, 615-882-4838, 882-4838. Pain-free, the way to be. At the Dr. Gill Center for Back, Neck, and Chronic Pain Relief in Franklin. Friends, in this volatile winter season, it can be 0 degrees one day and 50 degrees the next, and we've experienced that just in the past week or so. Jeff Eddy and Efficient Heating and Cooling can keep your heater running as it should, and if it's not running as properly as you believe it should, let's give Jeff Eddy a call. He's the trustworthy source that I believe in when it comes to your heating and your AC in our community. Regardless of what you currently have, if you know you need something new, Jeff Eddy is your go-to guy. He's a diamond contractor with Mitsubishi Electric if you want to go that route. He's an Elite Pro partner with Rheem if that's the route you want to go. And he can offer you sage wisdom and advice as to how much life you've got left in your unit, how much energy that's costing you. You know, these older units, they're going to cost you some money because they drain your energy levels, and obviously that's going to cost you more in your electric bill or your heating bill, your gas bill at the end of the month. Maybe you just need a second opinion about whether it's time to replace, or maybe you need maintenance on that system. Whatever it might be, Efficient Heating and Cooling wants to help. Go to efficienthvac.net. That's efficienthvac.net, or call Jeff Eddy today, 615-784-4424. If your heater's not ready, call Jeff Eddy and Efficient Heating and Cooling. I blame the government. That's what I blame. Bel Kay's not having a good day, and that's because of the interaction that he had with the government earlier today. That's what I'm going to say. It's 2:39, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Donald Trump will be your nominee on the Republican side of things. We've figured that out this week, and that's good news. Cut's in Nashville's been... Is Cut still on the line? My goodness gracious. Cut, if you're still on the line, I owe you a sincerest of apologies because I didn't see you over there. We had a lot of guests. We had a lot of shenanigans going on, and you're still here. What is going on, buddy?
I just wanted to make a point.
Okay.
First off, Matt, have you heard of the Convention of States?
I have.
Process?
I have.
Would that not quell all of this border issue? The Convention of States get together, you set legislation, you even get constitutional amendments exactly, and this issue is covered. Am I in the twilight zone on that?
Well, Article 5 allows for the Convention of States. It's an ultimate constitutional tool. The Founding Fathers understood that we needed some breaks. You know, like they cut breaks to stop wildfires. And so if the federal government becomes a wildfire, the idea of a Convention of States is a break that our Founding Fathers offered us to hold the government accountable. And I am all about it, and I love the suggestion, Cut.
And would that not help all the quote-unquote, since everybody's a border state? I'm pretty sure by now all these states, since, you know, hey, we're border states, I'm pretty sure everybody could come to a conclusion and get together on that. I think that would also circumnavigate that ridiculous Supreme Court decision about, you know, how Texas couldn't have the border the wires and all that stuff on the border. So, there's a lot of people brighter than me. I would think that would come to somebody's, brain.
To your knowledge, has Tennessee signed on? I know that there's an organization, the Convention of States, Citizens for Self-Governance, launched something back in the mid-2014 or 2015. I remember reporting on it. I had someone from the Citizens for Self-Governance, and I need to have them back. This is a great idea, Cut, because I want to say that 20 or so states have signed on to the idea of having a Convention of States. Yeah,
I think Tennessee has signed on. I'm not 100% sure, but I think they have signed on. And with all of this border crisis, I'm sure everybody would be like, hey, let's do something about it. And that way you eliminate everything and you come up with a resolution that's in the amendment, the whole nine.
Look, I love it. I love the idea. I think it's a good way to cast attention on some of these issues that our federal government refuses to deal with. I think it's a good way to cast attention to the manner in which the federal government has far exceeded its constitutional role or responsibility. And I think it's great. Absolutely.
And also, this is what I don't understand. I don't understand. Back in the day when we had this first big, with immigrants coming to the country, I remember somewhere in civics class, it was a point in time where you had to stop it so they could, quote unquote, assimilate to the American way. I've not heard anybody say anything about that. So I'm like, is that outdated too?
Yes. I mean, according to our friends on the political left, it is. I mean,
Right,
I've long said that, the founding fathers intended at least some, as immigration became more popular to the United States of America in the mid-1800s, the late 1800s, early 1900s. We were intended to be a melting pot. We were not intended to be chunky stew. You were to melt yourself into the fabric of American society, not demand that American society change itself according to where you came from. It makes no sense.
Right. And, and to me, just to keep everything plain and simple, everybody on the planet, well, I'm not going to say on the planet, but everybody has heard, close the door, you're letting flies in, you're doing this, you're doing that, close the door. It's simple. Close the door. Lock the door. I mean, it's obvious that we have an issue and we have a problem. Close the door.
I started using this analogy, 20 years ago when we were talking about that. It's certainly by 2008 when Sessions was holding his finger in the dike. If you come home tonight, Cut,
right,
and you walk into your kitchen and water is just spewing out of your sink. I mean, it is going everywhere. Water, and there is 2 inches of water on your floor.
Right.
Are you grabbing a mop or are you going to stop the sink?
You got to stop it. You got to go out and turn the water off.
You got to turn the water off.
You got to turn the water off.
It's that simple. It's that simple.
Well, it's like I've always said, man. It's a wrap. It's a wrap.
Love it, Cut. Man, thank you for holding. I'm sorry you had to so long. I appreciate you. Call back anytime. Love your calls and love your wisdom. 244, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. We've mentioned that it is episode 499. I want to offer you, I'm going to tell you one final story before we say hello to Brian Wilson. So episode 500 coming tomorrow. They said it wouldn't last. I want to tell you one quick story because tomorrow I'm gone. What now?
Episode 500 comes Monday. You said it comes tomorrow.
Well, yeah. 499 is today. It would have come tomorrow, but I'm off tomorrow. So my episode 500, we count only on days that I'm here. We count when, as I've subbed in for the drive, I count those days as well because I'm on the radio. But it is our episode 500 on Monday. So I just want to spend a moment thanking you for putting up with me. I am blessed beyond imagination to be able to do this on a daily basis. I've heard it said in the past that the greatest thing that you can give is love. And the second greatest thing that you give in your life is your labor. If you think about that for a moment, it will make sense. I believe the greatest and most important thing that you give is your love. And the second greatest and most important thing that you give is your labor. And if those two things come at you in a combined fashion, it's something special. And I love offering you my labor on a daily basis. And I could not do so without you. And I thank you. I've often joked that one of us gets paid to be here, and I'm that guy. So I really, 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 really appreciate the ones that don't get paid to be here, because without you, they would stop paying me. I do appreciate every single one of you. And I thank you. 5668 wants to know, where's Jay? Considering I'm not here tomorrow, normally we back Friday up and have Friday on Thursday. Jay was sadly in a deposition today, was not able to be here. However, my understanding that the redheaded stranger has reached out, and Pamela Furr will have Jay on tomorrow to diagnose and give his analysis as to what's going on the southern border. And we look forward to that conversation. I'm out. I'm in Tampa until Monday, and I'll be back on Monday. Now, this real quick story. I don't know, I guess I do know why I think of Mac Morey every time I see this story. If you've not heard this story, it's incredible. And I'm going to beg of Mac Morey to put on his news hat, and then on top of his news hat, put on his Kansas City Chiefs hat. Or he can put his Chiefs hat on and then his news hat. Whichever way you want to do it, Morey, it's up to you. Have you seen this story about what happened when some friends went over to this guy's house and they were watching a Chiefs game, and then like 3 of them ended up dead?
We were just talking about
Yeah, we were just talking about this. Yeah, no, it's insane. Scary.
It is an insane story. We're going to see this on Dateline or on,
100%.
There's no question. So I want to get your take on what you think might have happened. Pure speculation. So this guy, Jordan Willis, invited friends over to his house to watch a Kansas City Chiefs game. 4 guys came to the house. So there's Willis and 4 other guys. 3 of the guys turned up dead, frozen to death outside of his house. A 5th friend that went to the watch party that preceded the mysterious deaths of the first 3 has now offered his account of what happened in the final hours. The bodies of Ricky Johnson, 38, Clayton McGeady, 36, and David Harrington, 37, were discovered January 9th after one man's fiancée told Kansas City police that she'd not heard from her fiancé in 2 days. 2 of the men were found in the snow outside of Jordan Willis's rental home. The other was found dead on his back porch. One of the guys that was dead, his coat was inside the house.
Yeah.
This dude, Willis, was not answering texts, was not answering calls, was in his room. So the guy that was renting the house, he was in his room the whole time. They broke into the house. And eventually he came to the front door and claimed he had no idea what was going on, had no idea that people were dead outside of his house. What the hell's going on, Maury, with you Chiefs people?
I know.
That seems sketchy, right, though, for the owner to not have any idea?
Jason Kelsey got drunk and showed up and beat them to death without his shirt on in minus 12-degree weather.
With a Bud Light can.
With a Bud Light can in his hand.
With a Bud Light can in one hand. He beat them to death either with a Bud Light can or a Taylor Swift CD. We're not really sure which. Maybe they went out to the snow to die because old Willis wouldn't stop singing Taylor Swift songs during the game. Maybe they decided to go to the snow. Yeah. Maybe they decided to kill themselves in the snow because the television kept showing images of Taylor Swift. No, in all seriousness, when somebody dies, you ought to be serious about it. What? Drugs? Is that what we're thinking? Let me get a consensus.
All 3 of them, though?
Here's what I think. This is my theory. I think that drinks turned into some form of drugs, whether it was pot or whatever, and something was laced with fentanyl, and 3 of them died, and this other dude passed out in his bedroom, and that's why he was out of it for the length of time he was out of it. That's my take on it. Could be completely wrong. But the weird thing is the police are being really emphatic that they do not suspect foul play.
Well, have they been autopsied yet?
They have been, but the report's not back.
Yeah, because up to 8 weeks.
I mean, obviously, dying from fentanyl is going to show up completely different than freezing to death. But, if there's no physical injuries to them and they're just out in the cold, you got to think there was a substance involved.
I'm a grown man. I'm a grown man. Even if I'm as drunk as Cooter Brown, I'm busting out a window to get back inside if I have to.
And it wasn't that cold. This wasn't like it was against the Dolphins game, negative 30 wind chill. Like, it was just a normal cold day. Like, it
was
wasn't
like 20 degrees.
Yeah, it wasn't like die in the cold.
It's very, very odd.
Very
I know
odd.
that
Very odd.
Maury will continue to follow the story in the newsroom, give you any updates. We're going to find out from Brian Wilson what he's got on tap this afternoon on a Thursday edition of The Drive. That's next on Super Talk. Just enough time to check in with Brian Wilson as we wind down our portion of the day and wind down my week. I'm out tomorrow, Pamela Furr, and for me, Brian's up in about 5 minutes or so. What's going on, Brian Wilson?
Well, not much. Getting ready for the show. Looking at the heavy rain coming down here in bucolic Watertown. It's just a rainy day. Just a day to sort of sit inside and not get out.
Do you you have to have a certain level of pride for your home state, given what's going on right now and the strength of conviction that Greg Abbott is showing over what's going down with the federal government?
I think that the Supreme Court was absolutely boneheaded in its decision. Now, I think there is another case out there that might actually help the state of Texas. It's a case called it's a Chevron reexamination of the Chevron doctrine. I don't want to get into a long run about it now, but it might help them in other ways, because this is an attempt to sort of force the federal government to follow the legislative intent of the laws and not just change them like the Biden administration has done with regard to the border. So I'm hoping that will help them, but I mean it's just wrong. And I'm so glad that our governor and about 11 other governors and a lot of Republican politicians are now standing up and saying, we stand with Texas on this one, and the Supreme Court was wrong. So we'll get into that right after the news with Mac Morey.
Love it. There's Brian Wilson. He's got another day of talk radio excellence, and he's got tomorrow, too. I'm out tomorrow. Pamela Furr, as I mentioned, in for me. Brian Wilson coming up next right after the news with Mac Morey. It is 3 o'clock. Thank you for being with us. Have a great weekend, folks. Hope everybody has a wonderful and safe time, and we'll be back on Monday for episode 500 of The Murphy Show. Until then, hug your loved ones. So long, everybody.